This is News Talk 980 CKNW.
Markets continue to reach new highs despite worries over the Italian referendum and the rise in interest rates in the U.S.
But where to next? Let's bring in Michael Campbell, the host of Canada's #1 rated financial show, Money Talks. Now, Mike, let's start with the Italian referendum that Linda mentioned. The markets seemed to shake it off after initial negative reaction.
Yeah, they did. I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, this was another anti-EU vote. The prime minister, as we know, is I think he's resigning today. They wanted to pass a budget, and then he was going to immediately resign. So more limbo for Italy. And again, you're talking the fourth largest debtor nation in the world, third largest economy there, in the European Union. So that was certainly shaking people up. Like, what comes next? The markets hate uncertainty, and that's what that produced. But you're right, Drex. I mean, all of a sudden, you get the initial negative reaction, and then presto, things seem to calm down right away. So it's kind of interesting on that basis.
Well, so does that mean then that the worry is really just overblown?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I love this comment, out of the Financial Times. I'll just quote it quickly. It says, an Italian exit from the single currency would trigger the total collapse of the Eurozone within a very short period. It would probably lead to the most violent economic shock in history, dwarfing the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy in '08 and the 1929 Wall Street crash. So obviously they're worried because, again, the party that sort of won out on this is the Five Star Movement. Started, a few years ago. It's always noted that a comedian literally started this thing up. He, by the way, is a brilliant speaker. I've seen him speak. But, yeah, they're the ones who gained momentum. They're the ones who won the Rome elections. Now we come to this referendum. They led the no side to it. So they're the big winners in this, and they are unequivocal. We want to leave the euro. We want to come back to the lira. And, the polls show us that the majority of the public agrees with them. I mean, this wasn't even close in the vote. I mean, it was like 59-39 or something, so that's what the big worry is what's next for the Eurozone. But yeah, as we said a moment ago, it seemed like the markets kind of shrugged it off at that point.
Mike, every time we talk to you, it seems that there's always something going on in Europe. How is that likely going to impact us here in Canada?
Well, I think it's all come back to credit in the same way that the subprime credit crisis in 2008, 2009 impacted the world. We found out who owed money to whom, that kind of stuff. Well, it's going to be the same thing there. I mean, I'm worried about the banking crisis in Europe. I mean, keep in mind, they're talking about right now about bailing out the world's oldest bank. It's about a 2 billion euro, preparation for the state taking it over, the Italy taking over this bank. And the worry is that there's contagion. The worry is that that's not the last of that stuff. It's still coming here. So you've got that. Then you've got the sovereign debt crisis. I mean, there is no change in Greece. It's still an absolute mess. You've got Spain in precarious position, Portugal in precarious position. And I've been saying for about 6-7 years, since just before the Greek crisis, which I thought was very predictable, that we're watching the demise of the European Union. And then, of course, you throw on to the fire the Brexit vote. So it's all of this stuff mishmashing. They've got a huge problem with the refugees. I mean, big change in direction for Angela Merkel this week when she says she wants to put a ban in at least some cases of wearing the full face-covering burqa. That just tells you how the times are changing in Europe at this point. So I think it's that level of uncertainty. You're absolutely right. I feel like every time I read a European newspaper, there's another disaster. I look at the Financial Times all the time, same kind of thing. But yeah, it comes down to their credit system, their debt, and that will impact us over here in North America. And you down in Australia, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, you've been talking about this for quite a while, about how the fact that the world is kind of off kilter right now in so many different ways. So let's talk about interest rates. Is it a foregone conclusion that the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates?
Yes, it is. I think, the market's telling us it is. Sorry, I should have said that. I mean, there is some reasons why they may not want to do that. I mean, I look at some of those numbers coming out of the States. There's 95-plus million permanently unemployed. They added 446,000 to that, sort of permanent unemployment rate just in the month of November. So that was, very significant there. But yes, it looks like the bond market's reacted as if there's a higher interest rates coming. Clearly, the Federal Reserve, as I say, the market puts a bet on that. They put it at 100% now. So let's face it, there's going to be some real shock if that's not the case. Let me just give you one other thing here. A 10-year bond in the U.S. yielded 1.3% just in July, as recently as July. It's now coming around 2.45%. That's what it's hit as a high in the last week. So that's a really huge change in interest rates. So yeah, we're looking at least a very different environment in the U.S.
So it seems like there's just been this, I don't know, like a relentless string of new highs since Mr. Donald Trump was elected. Is this making you a bit nervous?
Well, I think most people, anytime you get a big sharp move up, you start thinking there's got to be some traders who want to at least take some profit. I mean, nothing's really happened, obviously. He's not even president yet, but it's all that talk about aggressive infrastructure spending, is going to help lift the economy, that kind of talk there. So the market just all of a sudden said, presto, it's still the best game in town in the U.S. I think it's a little bit overdone, a little bit too exuberant at this point, but I still say, so short term, I'm cautious. But longer term, any kind of sharp correction, I think, is still a buy in the U.S. market, because the problems in Europe, in the end, are going to send money pouring into the U.S. I mean, these are long-term trends we're watching play out here. So, yeah, you get ebbs and flows to those trends, but bottom line is I think money still ends up in the States as the number one game over the next few years.
All right, Michael Campbell, the host of Canada's number one rated financial show, Money Talks, here on Saturdays, right here on News Talk 980 CKNW. Mike, we'll chat to you next week when we're back in Vancouver.
Absolutely. Look forward to it, and I hope Linda's got an accent by then.
I'm going to be down under.
There you go.
That's bad, isn't it? I'm
Please
sorry.
don't. Please don't. Just stop. All right, Mike, thanks so much.
Thanks, bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, News Talk 980 CKNW. Steele and Drex back in a few.
Vancouver's news, Vancouver's talk. This is News Talk 980 CKNW.